my first question I'd have for you to lead into that is, were you just fast straight off the bat getting an RC, or is there a pretty good learning curve for you?
Oh no, it was pretty bad. The first night out, I had a brand new body. It was all wrapped. It was cool looking, and it didn't last long. It exploded with like the first 5 laps.
So
welcome to RC Underground Radio.
Yes, I realize I look like an idiot with this mustache, and I'm okay with it.
The ultimate podcast that covers everything RC.
You don't need to cut anything either. You can just call this the raw, uncut episode. We can leave it at that.
The raw. Yeah.
Are you drinking dollar store soda again? Quit spending your money on RC stuff. You can buy some name brand soda.
RC Underground Radio is your backstage pass to the RC industry, with insiders that are shaping the future of the hobby. The future of the hobby.
When we bring this guest on, I guarantee people are going to go, "Are you kidding me?" He wrote a song.
I did.
We're going to have to end this soon, huh?
Yeah, no shit. And we're going to have to edit this.
So, here are your hosts, Dave Brinkman and Ryan Ratzloff.
All right. Well, I want to welcome everybody to another week of RC Underground Radio, brought to you by Carpy's Wraps. And tonight I have my spectacular co-host, Austin Wentworth. Austin, thanks for jumping on tonight.
hey, happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Always fun to have you on here. Ryan's got some family business he's taking care of, so I always reach out to the superstar and say, hey, we need you. So Austin has come on board again tonight. We have a great guest tonight. We've been delving into all different forms of RC, not just the one RC cars, like how we started the show, almost a year and a half ago, which is kind of crazy. But tonight we've got Kevin McNatt with us. And Kevin, we want to welcome you to the program.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit where you come from, what you're racing, maybe your major track that you're at. Let's learn a little bit about Kevin.
So I'm from Greenville, Texas. It's about 45 minutes to an hour from Dallas. I run currently just SC Mod, and my home track is Thompson's Raceway.
Cool. So I can kind of see behind you, and it looks like, it's fair to say that you're pretty successful in this RC stuff. Like, you're not new to it.
It's come a long ways for sure, especially 8 years ago. So.
Yeah, so how long have you been in RC? Is this a new thing for you? You've been at it for quite a while since you were young, or?
I want to say about 8 or 9 years now I've been into it.
I don't think that was for long ago, because I know he's definitely younger than me. Anybody's younger than me in this sport, but so cool. So tell us a little bit. You kind of told me a little bit about your story, but kind of like make your story come to life.
So I started racing at Wild Bill's Raceway in Irving, Texas. That was one of my first couple of years, and that was my home track. Ronnie Chapman took it over, and I started racing with guys like Nathan Dean and Robert Chapman and guys like that. And it's weird because the people I look up to now, I'm racing with them, like actually racing with them instead of just being on the track with them. So it's pretty cool. We like to travel a lot. I ran the RC Pro Series a lot. Steve Crane always puts on pretty good races I like to attend. There's a lot of big races around here that we attend.
Now, did you start just with SC Mod, or did you kind of follow your way into that, or how'd that come to be?
I've grown up into big car races, and we all run modified. The people I'm around race modifieds, and they all had tracks of slashes with modified bodies on them. I was like, that's pretty cool, I want one. And eventually got one, and started racing SC Mod, and I ran that for a year or two. Then I drove somebody's sprint car for a little bit, and I've ran only SC Mod ever since.
No other cars, huh? No other forms of RC. Just kind of
Yeah, it's always been my class. I guess just because they're so realistic and they're so fun to drive.
I picked up an SC mod a while back, and I agree. I think they're a blast, but on the West Coast, they're not a thing. And I don't know. Like, I come from the real car racing as well. I'm on the asphalt side, but I don't know if that's because they don't run the real cars on the West Coast as much. But like sprint cars over here are huge, so sprint cars and RC are huge here. So
Right.
I wish we had them like you guys do, man.
It kind of dropped off for a little bit, and it still isn't to where it used to be. But when we travel to go to bigger races, we get at least a full field. So, and the guys that are in the class now, they're pretty good. Like Jordan Heffler, he won Julia Bowl. I race with him weekly. Kevin Linderman, Serta, all these guys. It's pretty cool.
So, sorry guys, but I got to bust you out because I did a show a couple weeks ago with Brendan Riedner, and he reminded me that we can't call them real cars. We have to call them full-scale cars because the RC guys get really upset when their race cars are not thought of as real cars. Big cars, full-scale cars. Trust me, I'm doing it every week. I'm trying to catch myself now. Now that he told me that, I've got this phobia that I cannot say real cars. I have to say full-size cars or big cars.
Yeah, the guys that races around here, he runs the full-scale cars, and he's raced RC also. And his dad gets mad whenever we bring an RC car into the shop, and he's like, well, these are just like they're scaled-down race cars. They're the same thing as our, big cars.
Way less expensive. And that's saying RC cars can't get expensive. We've all been there, but
yeah.
And since we've all raced full scale stuff, we know just how expensive that can be. But
You have a driving background? Are you working on cars? What do you do on the big stuff?
My family has like always been into it. My uncle races modifieds. I actually help a kid that one of my best friends. I've helped him for years on his actual modified. And so, and I actually just started a job at Smiley's Racing Products also.
I bought stuff there for sure. Some helmets and, some gloves and shoes. I bought all kinds of gear through those folks. And I was smiling after the purchase. So what are you doing there? What are you doing at Smiley?
I actually start Monday.
Oh, cool.
So.
Our newest sales rep to call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be messing with Hoosier Tires.
All right.
So that'll be my department.
All right, so we're going to nickname you 30% off Kevin, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you do a bunch of big races. What are the biggest ones you've been to so far, and how have you fared there?
Man, recently we went to the Chili Bowl, and that was this past year. And took a brand new car. It was a brand new Prodigy, the 2024 car. And first time we laid it down, won every heat, and then started second in the feature and got third.
Wow, actually,
it wasn't bad. It's a lot better than last year for sure.
Nice.
Now, I see the GFRP shirt. Are you sponsored, or do you have any ties with them, or just love their product?
Yeah, I've been with GFRP for about, I want to say, 4 or 5 years now.
That's all I run. So if you're going to be a Custom Works guy, I was going to have to cut the call short.
And it's funny because one of my best friends, he's a team driver for Custom Works.
You beat him?
No, he runs the buggy tire classes.
Okay, all right, fair.
I'm gonna give you guys some time here about GFRP. I mean, I keep hearing them. I know you've talked about them, Austin. Now you're talking about Kevin. Give them some free airtime, man. Tell us what sets them apart. What makes them so great, and would make drivers like yourselves so proud to race with them.
It's really the whole team. If you look around, like all the team drivers, like they're no slouches. You got Shad Jones, Ryan Ralph, Dreed Meyer. It's like guys that's been doing this for a long time, and they're like the best at what they do. Not saying any other company isn't good, but in my personal opinion, I think that GFRP has the best team, and they got the highest quality parts, so that makes the fastest race cars. This year, I fitted with them at Chili Bowl, and they're all helpful. It was pretty cool to be, next to me I got Grant Riles, in front of me I got, Ryan Ralph, and Dustin. He's a couple feet up. We're bull crapping back and forth all week. It's a fun time with those guys for sure.
Yeah, and like to your point, having some of the best guys in the business. When I got into RC, I wanted to run a sprint car, so I looked around and Custom Works was mostly, around, but there's a GFRP, so I looked into them, and you can message Chad Jones, you can message Dustin, you can message Doug Gott. I mean, all these guys, and they will answer you like you're one of their friends. Yep. Here's my setup. Here's what I'm doing. If you need any help, call me from the track.
Yep, Doug Gott, he's another awesome dude. We raced with him quite a bit. He's a really good dude.
Doug runs a lot of high bike stuff, and that's what I run in California.
Folks, are you looking to gain a 10th on the racetrack, or maybe get a few ladies like Taylor Swift in your pit stall? Well, I'm sorry to say that Carpies can't work miracles in those departments. But here's the good news. The folks at Carpies can definitely help you become the ultimate toy car nerd, just like me. How, you ask? Well, with their custom wraps and killer collection of official RC branded merch. So while they can't promise to shave a 10th off your lap time, they can save you 10% on your next order with promo code RCU10 upon checkout at carpies.com, CARPYS.com. Wrapping winners since 2013.
Anyways, we're back in. See, this is one of those editing points we talked about. So you get to see how this whole thing works behind the scenes, let alone my backdrop. That's really not a garage. It's just a backdrop. So I fooled everybody though when I brought that out last week.
It looks good.
A bunch of people called me, texted me and said, "You're right, man. You fooled us. We thought you were in you redid your garage or something." Yeah, a lot cheaper than doing a garage. I'll tell you that.
When I saw it, I was like, this guy's got an underground track in his basement, and he has this garage. I'm like, this guy's spoiled.
Right. No, it's a $29 backdrop.
There you go.
It works. What's so funny to me is that, doesn't it look like the lighting, makes it brighter? And it's not real lighting. Yeah. It's just the drawing. It's so crazy. And everybody's like, come on, that can behind you has to be real. I'm like, no.
Back to the GFRP stuff. The one thing I wanted to ask, and I don't know if you know this one, Dave, is the new Prodigy. That's the one with the rear adjustable arms, right?
Yes. We've always had adjustable wheelbase, but it's always you got to undo 4 to 8 screws to get to it. Or now it's you get a 2 mil wrench and you're doing it on the track.
Is that one of those things you actually use, or is it kind of more, very rarely you're using that adjustment?
So that's actually one of the most common things I use from say loose dirt, I'll start with a short wheelbase and the grip comes up, you want to start moving that back. So it makes it super easy.
See, right there. That's why you go GFRP. They think of that stuff. That is so trick.
So talk some dirt setup here, boys. Let's help the crowd a little bit. Obviously both you guys are successful where you're at, and you don't have to give away 100%, but bring them 90%. Make some of these people better than they are today, just like some of these GFRP racers have done for you. Now I know you got GFRP products, but maybe there's just some general stuff that you can give your fellow racers around the country some ideas on.
My first question I'd have for you to lead into that is, were you just fast straight off the bat getting an RC, or is there a pretty good learning curve for you?
Oh no, it was pretty bad. The first night out, I had a brand new body. It was all wrapped. It was cool looking, and it didn't last long. It exploded with the first 5 laps.
So I think that's how we all start off. I'm the same way. I had a mud boss. I did the same thing. What if you were getting into RC today and you told a kid that's going to the track, hey, do these couple things to be successful? What are you going to tell them to do? Because I know, personally, I always tell everybody, find the fast guy and go sit next to him and be nice to him. That's my number one rule right there.
So the first thing I would say, this is something that a lot of people, they do wrong, is they put too big of motors in these cars. SC mod, it's very easy to overpower them. I started out with a 3800 kV, Castle motor, and it was too much for me when I first started. And I've run all the way up to a Hobby Wing 5100. I've learned it's too much wheel spin, so you don't need all that power.
Training wheels.
Yeah.
So what would be a recommended motor in those cars then?
And so I like the Motive 5.5 2-pole, just because the 2-poles are easier to drive.
Now, is there a rule that you have to run 2-pole versus a 4-pole in SC mod now?
No, not yet. We're trying to get to where it's 2-pole only because I think the 4-poles, like the show transmissions, I personally haven't had any problems with it, but I can see it definitely happening. I think the 2-pole, it's a whole lot smoother, it's easier to drive, and it's a lot less wear on your equipment also.
It makes for better racing.
Yeah.
So we always get one thing we're really proud of is we get a lot of people that reach out and say, hey, I knew nothing about RC, and I stumbled across your channel and I'm really learning a lot, and now I'm trying to decide what I should pick and get involved in. So for those people that don't know what this conversation is, maybe explain the difference between what the 2-pole and the 4-pole is. So, like, what is it?
I'm just learning that the 4-poles, they're a lot more punchy as soon as you get into the throttle. So the 2-poles, they help smooth it out. It just makes the car a whole lot easier to drive.
Yeah, 2-pole is a little bit more 10th scale friendly motor. You're not going to see many 4-poles. Like, you're not going to see a 4-pole in a sprint car or anything like that. So usually that's more like your drag racing scene is where you're going to see the 4-poles.
Yeah. I've ran a 51. I've ran a 43. 3800. They're all smooth, but man, the 4-pole is just way too much.
Yeah, much more torque on 4-pole too. If I'm right, I think that's how it works too.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying is the 2-pole. Yeah, hit little smoother ride, correct? Smoother coming off the corner. So, you talked about you went to Chili Bowl. Did you just start out great the whole week and you were kind of A-main targeted, or did you have to work for it to get yourself up in that A-main?
Well, with this brand new car, I started off with my setup that I run on my 2020 Prodigy just to see what it was like. So I knew that setup I'm comfortable with. And right out of the gate, it was really good. I talked with Chad, changed front axles, and that's it. And it was on rails for sure.
And you can say, hey, she's fast and she sticks right out of the trailer. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, especially with it being a brand new car.
Right. No, you hit on it, and that's Did you play the lottery that week? Because when you're on that kind of roll,
I should have. Yeah.
You got to do scratch offs. You got to do tickets. You got to do it all, man. Because that means
wasn't that lucky in the main, but I was able to get to the lead at one point in the A. But lap traffic kind of got in the way. I'm not saying that's why I didn't win, but it was driver error a little bit and a little bit of
bad luck.
Traffic. Definitely don't help a Chili Bowl.
Yeah. Who were some of the guys in that race? Do you remember?
Jordan Heffler. Like I said, I race with him weekly. My buddy Kevin Linderman, Noel Serda, Trayson Lustfield, Brian Bowers, Cody Babbitt. Also, it was crazy. It's a lot of Texas guys.
Oh yeah.
A lot of guys that I raced with weekly were all in the A-main, so it was pretty cool.
So do you mostly run loose dirt then? Because I know that's Chili Bowl is famous for loose dirt. So is that just a track you guys all adapted to because it's like home, or?
Yeah, that's what I grew up racing on. So it's definitely my forte. We got a couple of tracks around here that's high bite, but I'm not really a high bite guy. Like I like a track where it's like low grip. You gotta work for it. So.
Now, for you, Austin, the tracks by you said they're a little bit more high bite, or are they loose dirt?
No, I mean, if we find a loose dirt track around here, it'll be high bite by the end of the night. It's not a lot of humidity here. It's really hot, so mostly everything goes into blue groove high bite stuff. So, like, when I get on loose dirt stuff, I am like out in left field calling people like, "What do I do here? This is so contrary to what I'm used to."
So, are you ever thinking about going to Chili Bowl, giving it a shot?
Yes, I will. I did all my big travel races this year, have been carpet oval stuff, but I'm sure like next year maybe. I'm all about the community, right? If I can get a couple buddies that are going to go and it's going to be a good time, that's when I'm in. The event's cool. I've learned the event's the event, but if your community and your buddies are going, that's when you're having the most fun.
Well, if you go next year, we're miking you up. Well, that's going to definitely be an RC Radio Roadshow edition, no doubt. Maybe we'll get Kevin to put one on too.
Oh yeah,
fun.
Be a trackside reporter.
Trackside reporter. Yeah, we're doing it just like when they mic
gonna have
them
to
up.
get TJ on that.
Yeah, right. When they mic them up in the I know we got a mic TJ up for sure. Yeah, that he's a wild man. He's going to be on here in a couple weeks. So buckle up, everybody. Really? TJ Greer. He's pretty fun.
Kevin, when you're running with all these guys, like you said, you run with a bunch of these guys week in and week out in Texas. I know, like for myself, when I go to a big race and I get in the A main, I still get that like flutter of like excitement when you're standing on the stand. When you're racing against these guys week in and week out, do you not get that as much, or is it still? I mean, you're at the Chili Bowl to A main, your heart's going.
Man, it just depends. There's some races it's like, all right, I got to focus. But, some races it's like, all right, I got this. But like Chili Bowl, it was, last year I didn't make the main. We struggled big time. So this year when I made it, I don't know, I knew I was starting second, and so my goal is just to win the deal. And, that's where your mindset has to be at that race. But, I've ran elite Dirt Oval Series races at Taylor Park, and that was a pretty big one. And that was the one that I got pretty nervous at.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah.
Racing toy cars, and you're up there and your heart's beating 180 beats a minute, and you're like, holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I was last week, just racing a 1RC car. I had a traveling all weekend, and I know. We teased it. We call Ryan G-Main, which we can't do that anymore because he's making A's and B's now. But I'm going to start calling myself 3-Main because I can't do better than third place in an A or a B. For the last 2 weekends, or 3 weekends, I've been racing. Third. Every race I finished, I was either third and didn't transfer from the B to the A, or I made it to the A, and I finished third. So, yeah, I just got to change my car number to 3, I guess.
So if somebody was going to look you up or look up your wrap company, where are they looking?
Mainly just me on Facebook. That's mainly what I go through. People will shoot me a message through my messenger and just take care of it through my personal Facebook.
What's your wrap company called?
I've got a kind of a name for it. It's just Design 88.
You did Chili Bowl. Do you have anything else? Like, I'm looking at my calendar for the rest of the year, and I'm already trying to plan all these races in. Do you have any other big races you're planning on going to for the end of the year?
Maybe like 18 or so races left. I've ran 3, I think, this year. Yeah, 3 times.
You went and checked your trophies.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if I raced twice or 3 times this year.
But he knows he gets a trophy every time, so that's how he keeps track. No, he doesn't use a calendar like we have to, or our phones. He just looks back and goes, yeah, that's how many I raced.
Now, this week I'm going to Taylor Park in Yukon, Oklahoma for their spring nationals. So, and then go back in 2 weeks for the WFO race, which a lot of the Custom Works guys and Dustin and the other GFRP guys will be at also.
You're traveling for races then.
Yeah, and it's funny because that track, they have I think 5 or 6 big races this year. And I actually host a race. It's called the SC Mod Shootout. And we're having it there this year. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Oh, nice.
So you said you host it? So you're the promoter of that race? All right. Well, see, here's a whole other world we got to go. Buckle up, everybody. Go get your popcorn and your drink because, we got a whole new segment here to talk about. Talk about that. I'm a promoter, so tell me about your promoter side. So
we started putting this race on, I want to say 4 years ago, just to help the SC class grow. Every year we want to make it a couple hundred to win, with trophies and stuff. So the goal this year is to make it 500 to win with trophies for the top 5, and the whole A main gets paid. And so every year we get at least 100 entries. Plus. So it's a pretty fun event. We have pretty much every class, SC mod, late model sprint, whatever.
Well, so when is that event? Give us, go ahead, take the time. Let people know.
So June 14th, it's on a Friday. We're having a practice night that night at Taylor Park. Then June 15th is the date for it, the next day.
Awesome. And is there a website that they can find information about that?
You can go to Facebook and just type in SC Mod Shootout, and we have a page.
How about any sponsors of that race? Any sponsors of that race you have already?
Pop Willie's, they always sponsor some stuff. TP3D, we got MR Customs. I think I'm going to reach out to Dustin again this year and see if he can sponsor some stuff. I'd like to get a new 24 Prodigy to raffle off. I think that'd be pretty cool. So, We got a good group of sponsors for the event.
Very nice. Yeah, it's great. That's one of the great things, right, Austin? Just this whole RC community. It doesn't matter what scale, doesn't matter what kind of racing. The manufacturers seem to really support, and then it's great when you see racers like Kevin actually promoting races, right?
And promoting the class. I mean, I don't think people would look at RC and think, SC Mod's the biggest class. And I know it's kind of come under fire this last year as far as like it's a dying class. And there's people like yourself that they love it and it's a great class. So to put on an event like that and kind of showcase that class, I think that's pretty cool.
There is some big races in Illinois and Indiana we're going to this year. So I'm ready to go up there and run against those SC Mods.
Yeah, no, that's great. And like, you mentioned, Austin, maybe social media wise, people think it's lesser than it's been, but Kevin's proven them wrong, right? He's saying, hey, I'm getting hundreds of cars showing up. We're traveling to different states. Other people from other states are traveling by us. So, if we could be a helpful platform for that, Kevin, just keep us, keep RC Underground Radio updated on what's going on with that. We'll gladly continue to talk about that event and other events that come up. We never want to see a class, die off for it's really not dying off. It's just not getting enough airplay.
The classes around here, they're the big classes like SC Mod, Midwest Mod and Sprint. They're kind of dying off around here, but it's because I think we have a lot of tracks as classes right now around here, so it's kind of ruining the racing around here.
So let's dig into that a little bit, because I am going to do an episode about tracks and talk to some promoters, and now I'm talking to a promoter. So I'm always interested about that conversation, like, why do some tracks make it and other tracks don't? Now, you brought up a key point, and let me know if I'm getting this right. Are you saying there's too many classes?
Definitely too many classes overall. I think, like, if we have, 12 classes here, 8 or 9 of them are access classes. I'm all for beginner classes, but I don't think there's a need for 8 of them. And so I think that's a lot of what, if tracks are doing that, I think that's what's killing them.
So it's that then there's only 4 or 5 in a class. It goes on till midnight. Yep. I'm assuming that's some of the issues where you could consolidate some of this stuff. Sure, it's not going to be all big fish in a little pond in 7 of the 8 divisions. Guys are going to have to race for it. Yeah, the promoters get nervous that, if not enough people are winning, they're not going to come and we're going to lose them. So let's slice the pie really thin and everybody can be a hero. Am I kind of on target with that? Is that what's happening?
That's exactly right. I'm all for, spec classes, cheaper racing, but there's just certain points where it's like, okay, this is too much. We have Mud Boss and Tree Stock, in my opinion, they're, a stepping stone class. They're one of the cheaper classes. They're pretty much stock. I think they're a class where you start out in and, move your way up. I just don't think there's a need for, Bandit Sprint Car, all this other stuff. It's cool, but not when you're staying out until 3 a.m. for, 10 tracks as classes.
And I think, if, and hopefully, there's some track promoters maybe doing this that will hear this, and once they hear it out loud, maybe it makes more sense to them because, you want, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, an exciting class is when there's a lot of cars. Like, Attitude Raceway, they, in their street stock division, there's 40 plus cars. I only qualified 12th, but I felt like a rock star because there was 40 cars, right? It was just fantastic. Now, if there was 12 cars and I was 12th, that wouldn't be so exciting anymore. But, when you can get those bigger classes, I think maybe promoters, what they're fearful of, they're not thinking it through because the couple of cars that you might save on this end, you're going to lose a lot more cars because the number one thing I hear from people is how late the show goes. We're out there racing until 11:30. You said 3 in the morning. That doesn't fly. People have to get home.
Yeah.
You can run a nice tight show and be done by, it depends on what time. But, if you can run a 5 to 6 hour show, you're in good shape. But when you're running 9, 10, 11 hours, nobody's enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
How about you, Austin? What do
Yeah.
you guys see out that way? Do you see that oversaturation of classes?
Sometimes, and it depends on the track, but like you're right. When I go to a well-managed track and like, hey, we start at 1 in the afternoon. You can practice in the morning from 10 until 1, and then 1 we're going to race. A good track, you're out of there by 6 or 7 that night, and that's kind of what you need when you're going to go race toy cars. We have families, we have lives, we have jobs, but there's some tracks in my area. They're like, hey, we're going to start at 8 p.m. And those tracks, you're not done till 2 or 3 in the morning. And if you're traveling from an hour away, you're not in bed till 4 or 5, and that's not realistic.
Yeah, what's kind of the time frame that you see, Kevin? Like what time are tracks starting? Well, you said they end at like 1 to 3 in the morning. So what time are they starting?
Obviously, in the summertime, a lot of tracks like to start later, so we don't have to sit out in the heat all day.
Sure.
So I'd say typically around like 5, 6 in that area. I'm all for sitting at the track all day and hanging out with everybody. That's what I love doing. But man, it's whenever you're sitting out there at 3 a.m. and you're ready to go home, you're 3 hours away. It's like, man, I'm ready to go to sleep. And now,
yeah, and again, I think the promoters, their heart is in the right place. They want to give everybody enough classes to be a dog, be a top dog if they can. But most of those people, and tell me if I'm wrong, are probably racing one class. They're sitting around a lot, right? Like, if you're running a SR10 or you're running, whatever, an entry class, you probably put your money together to do it, and you're happy and you're excited that you're RC racing. But do you want to race every 3 hours for 4 minutes, maybe?
Yeah.
And
that's another thing. I only run SC mods. So every track I go to, I'm only running one class. Same with Chili Willie. I ran this one class. And Dustin came up to me. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this? He said, I couldn't do it. It's boring at times, but it's like I really get to focus on that car and that car only.
And that's exactly right, because I'm the other side. I'm the dumb one that's like, I could do 4 classes, like no problem. And I'm out there running around with my hair on fire. And I took a page out of your book a couple weeks ago, and last second I went and ran. I was like, well, I'm just going to take one sprint. And I was like panicked. I'm like, man, I'm only running one class. Is this even worth it? Let me tell you how nice it is to run one class, to focus on one car, and then you have time to actually watch racing.
Yeah, I kind of went the other end of the spectrum the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, I'm gonna get my money's worth. I'm gonna run. I ran 2 classes with one RC cars, the dirt late model and the late model, asphalt late model. But then last week I also jumped in an SR10, which was a blast. But I almost need somebody to come drive me home. I was so tired driving 3 classes and 3 rounds of heats, and this old joker was pretty wore out after all that focus, and it's crazy. It was crazy. It was fun, but I think I'm going to go back to my 1, maybe 2 classes that I'll run in a day.
I really want to get into the late model class. That's one class I haven't ran, and I think that'll fit my driving style. I really want to get a midget also.
Yeah, I saw them running those at RC Chili Bowl. Those seems kind of interesting. I could see you in there, and I could see why that would be a great class. Are you going to have those at your race?
The midgets, I don't think so. Just because we got 10 classes already, I like to keep 10 the max. I'd like to have midgets at my event, probably next year, but this year I think 10 is the limit.
The one question I have is, I'm not a huge SC mod guy just because I don't run them out here, but every time I talk to somebody that's passionate about it, like we've said, they talk about how, the class is struggling or it's dying, and, everybody has an opinion on what they should do as far as they should allow the batteries to be offset, no 4 poles, all that. In your opinion, what are 1 or maybe 3 things that you would like to see in SC mod that you think might be beneficial and kind of keep it going or, reinvigorate it?
Man, I really like the only 2-pole deal. I wouldn't mind if we went away with the 4 poles. I haven't ran one in 2 years now, so that's one of them. The battery deal, I like that. I have moved my battery over and tried it. I didn't like it, but it helps. It helps save weight on the car. You don't have to add stack weight on the left side, and then now your car weighs 20 pounds or whatever it is. It's not a tank anymore, so it's not affecting your transmission. Or if a marshal's out there and they get hit in the leg, it's not
Yep.
Not so heavy.
For them.
Yeah.
I think both those things are huge because the biggest downside I hear is, too much power, 4 poles, go down to 2 poles. And then with the battery and, too big a motor, well, then you start getting the transmission issues and you're blowing transmissions. And I think the biggest thing for a class is if you can have a car that people show up and is reliable, that's a big part of the, problem right there, or the equation. And if you're blowing up transmissions every week for a new guy or someone that's trying to, race on a budget, they're not sticking with that class. They're going to go back to, like you said, a Slash or something like that that's just bulletproof. I
think another thing that adds up to that is, the higher bite tracks. There's a lot of guys that like the higher bite tracks, but I think that race on a higher bite, it puts more wear and tear on your equipment. I think that running loose dirt, you'll chew some spur gears, but I think that's about it.
Well, I have to say, Kevin, not only are you a great racer, but it sounds like you're going to be a great promoter too, and that's as important to this hobby as anything. We all have to participate, but we need organizers too, and to see a young person like yourself interested in doing that, you can tell your passion for the hobby, just from what we've talked about. So you're not about just going out there and winning races. You're out there making sure that the hobby continues to grow, and that's super impressive. So we want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we got your message out. It's been super interesting to learn about what you're racing and what you're planning on doing. So just keep doing great things. We're pretty proud of you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. If y'all come to Chili Bowl this year, it'd be nice to sit down and even bring TJ on. We can all sit down and have a little party in the pits.
Do a roundtable podcast.
Yeah, we can do our first RC Underground live. Oh, that'd be scary. Hey, Austin, as always, I want to thank you for jumping on, buddy. You always save the day. Always come with some great questions and bring a lot of fun to the show. So appreciate you jumping in there with us. On behalf of RC Underground Radio, make sure you check out Carpies. Make sure you check out Papa Willie's. Those folks have jumped on board to help us with our mission, and that's we're selling merch, but we ain't selling merch to get rich. We're selling merch to help the hobby, much like Kevin is doing, much like Austin is doing. Everything that we're gaining from this merchandise goes directly into the hobby, and we've been doing that. We've been sponsoring races. We've been sponsoring racers. We've given out some free stuff for people that we've seen out, what we call seen out in the wild. So that's always crazy to me. When we go somewhere or we see a picture from a race and somebody's got our garb on, it's just it's nutty. It's just nutty. But it's all because everybody out in the hobby community. We thank you all so much for watching the show, driving up the analytics. We're right back there, folks. We took a break over last summer, and we are back as the #1 RC rated podcast on Spotify. So that's just a fun fact that we're really proud of. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you for listening to the RC Underground Radio Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your fellow racers about the show. Tune in again next week for more RC content.